Ever wonder, like, how to make a lasting impression?
Yeah.
You know, like how to be someone people remember.
Well, we did a deep dive into Stoicism for you, and it's really interesting stuff.
Oh, yeah. Some of those ancient philosophers, they really hit on some stuff that we're still dealing with today.
It's true. The article we're looking at is called 10 Stoic Principles That Make People Remember You Forever. It's from a website called Stoic Way. They lay out these like really timeless principles in a way that's pretty insightful.
Yeah, and actionable too.
Yeah, definitely actionable.
One thing that struck me is that it's not just like vague self-help stuff.
Yeah.
Stoicism is all about practical wisdom.
It is.
About, living a good life that kind of naturally like resonates with people.
Okay, so let's jump into the first principle. Becoming the best version of yourself. Now that might sound like your typical self-improvement stuff, but the Stoics had like a different take on it. They did. The Stoics thought that real happiness didn't come from like chasing external validation or comparing yourself to everyone else. It comes from focusing on the stuff you can control, your thoughts, your actions, your character.
So it's not about being perfect or trying to impress everyone. It's more about setting your own standards and like living up to them.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of us can relate to, especially, with social media and everything.
Yeah, it's almost like they knew about like the problems of social media way back then, this aesthetic principle. It's like a powerful way to deal with that. Instead of getting caught up in comparing yourself to others, they say like, look inward, focus on your own growth.
And one of the ways they did that was with this thing called negative visualization.
Right.
Right. Imagine like the worst possible thing and then mentally prepare yourself for it.
Exactly. It sounds kind of weird, but when you face your fears head on, you actually become more resilient, less dependent on like outside stuff for your happiness. They even had this idea called the dichotomy of control, accepting what you can't change and focusing your energy on what you can.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about taking responsibility for your own life, your own growth, not letting other things control how you feel or what you think about yourself.
Yeah.
So becoming the best version of yourself. The Stoic way, it's all about like inner strength and resilience. It's about becoming the kind of person who can handle anything.
And that inner strength that you build, it kind of radiates outwards. That's what makes people notice you.
Okay, so that leads us to the second principle, creating memorable moments. This one's interesting to me because we live in a culture obsessed with big gestures, extravagant displays. The Stoics had a different view though, right?
They were very aware of how short life is. Like the idea of memento mori, remembering you're going to die, was a big part of their philosophy. It's not that they didn't like joy or celebration, but they understood that real meaning, it comes from the present moment, from making those everyday interactions like sincere and deep.
So it's not about the fancy trips or expensive gifts. It's about the small, genuine things, a real conversation, a handwritten note, laughing together.
Exactly. Those are the things that people remember. It's about being present, being mindful, and realizing how precious each interaction is.
And that kind of makes every moment a potential memorable moment, right?
Exactly.
Because you never know which one's going to be your last. Like those videos you see online of people leaving nice notes for strangers or helping someone out.
Yeah.
Those small acts of kindness, they can really make a difference.
They really can. And that's what's cool about this principle. It's not about being a hero. It's about bringing a little bit of light and intention to every interaction, recognizing the humanity in everyone you meet.
I love that.
Yeah.
So we've talked about self-improvement and creating meaningful moments. Now, how does this Stoic stuff apply to relationships?
Well, that brings us to the third principle, show genuine concern. This one's super important in our busy, often kind of superficial world.
Because it's easy to just like go through the motions, like asking someone, how are you? Without actually caring.
Exactly. The Stoics wanted us to go deeper than that. They emphasized real empathy, really trying to see things from someone else's point of view.
To actually listen, not just wait for your turn to talk. It's like that thing I read about holding space for someone. Creating a safe place where they feel heard and understood.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's not about giving advice or trying to fix their problems. It's just being there with them in whatever they're going through.
So showing genuine concern, it's like taking empathy to the next level. It's about really seeing and hearing the other person.
Yeah, it's about being present and really paying attention. And that can make a huge difference in how people see you. You're going beyond the surface level stuff and showing that you really care about how they're doing.
Which takes us to principle number 4, creating delightful surprises. Okay, this one kind of threw me at first. How does surprising someone fit in with Stoic philosophy?
It's funny because Stoicism is often seen as being all about discipline and logic, but the Stoics also understood that joy and delight are important parts of a good life. They weren't just these serious, emotionless people we sometimes think of.
So it's not about denying yourself pleasure or never having fun.
No, not at all. Creating delightful surprises, it's about bringing unexpected joy into everyday life. It could be something small like bringing a coworker their favorite coffee or leaving a nice note for someone you love, or maybe planning a spontaneous outing.
It's like shaking things up a bit, adding a little spontaneity. And I bet those little surprises can have a big impact on relationships. It shows you're paying attention, that you care enough to go the extra mile.
For sure. It's a way of showing affection and appreciation, in a real way. And it doesn't have to be anything big or expensive. It's the thought behind it that matters.
It's like you're saying, hey, I see you, I appreciate you, and I wanted to make you smile.
Yeah.
And who doesn't love a nice surprise, right?
Exactly. And it goes back to that idea of being present and intentional in your interactions. It's about finding ways to lift people up and make them happy.
All right, principle number 5 is developing effective communication skills. Seems obvious, especially if you want to make a lasting impression. But I'm guessing there's more to it than just speaking clearly and listening well.
Oh yeah, definitely. The Stoics, they were really good at rhetoric. They thought that good communication was super important for living a good life. But they also stressed the importance of controlling your emotions, especially in tough conversations.
So it's not just about what you say, but how you say it.
Right. It's choosing your words, carefully thinking about your tone of voice, making sure your body language matches what you're saying. The Stoics thought you should communicate with clarity, honesty, and respect, even when you disagree with someone.
That stuff, especially these days when everyone's shouting their opinions all the time. But taking a more stoic approach to communication could really set you apart.
It definitely could. And it's not about hiding your emotions or being passive. It's learning to express yourself in a way that's real but also helpful, finding that balance between passion and reason.
Okay, so principle number 6 is creating personal space. This one seems a little counterintuitive. Don't we want to be seen and heard if we're trying to make a lasting impression? What's the deal with giving people space?
That's a good question. It's not about being distant or standoffish. It's about realizing everyone needs time and space to recharge, to do their own thing, just to be.
So it's about respecting boundaries, both physical and emotional.
Exactly. And this goes back to that Stoic idea of accepting what you can't control. We can't control how people see us, but we can control how we act. And sometimes the best thing you can do is give people the freedom to be themselves.
It's trusting them to live their own lives and make their own choices. And that can actually make relationships stronger because it shows you respect them.
Absolutely. It builds trust and respect between people. And it lets everyone grow as individuals.
This makes me think about that idea of chosen solitude.
Yeah.
Like being okay with your own company and not needing constant stimulation from other people.
Right. The Stoics were all about solitude. They saw it as a time for reflection, for improving yourself, for connecting with your inner wisdom. It's about finding that balance between connecting with others and having time alone.
Okay, so we've talked about being self-aware, making genuine connections, and giving people space. What about principle number 7? Demonstrating independence. How does being independent make you more memorable? Doesn't that seem kind of backwards?
Maybe at first, but think about it. Someone who has their own passions, who goes after their goals confidently, and doesn't need everyone to tell them they're great, that's attractive.
Yeah, for sure. It shows that you're confident and strong. It's like saying, I'm happy who I am, and I don't need anyone else's approval.
Exactly. The Stoics believed that real freedom comes from inside. It's about not needing stuff or other people to be happy or feel good about yourself.
So it's not about being a loner or pushing people away. It's about knowing who you are and being comfortable with that no matter what anyone else thinks.
Yeah.
I think that kind of confidence can really draw people in. It's real and it's powerful.
It is. This principle can show up in all sorts of ways, like having creative hobbies, standing up for what you believe in, making decisions without needing constant reassurance. It's about owning your choices and living life on your own terms.
I like that. And it sounds like that would lead to better relationships because you're not coming from a place of neediness.
Yeah.
You're bringing your whole self to the table.
Exactly. And your connections are more genuine because you're not trying to be someone you're not. You're not looking for validation or approval. You're just being you.
Okay, principle number 8, creating shared values. This one seems pretty straightforward, especially for building strong relationships. But I bet there's more to it than just finding things in common with people.
You got it. Shared interests and hobbies, those are great. But the Stoics were talking about something deeper. They thought that real connection, it comes from a shared understanding of what's good and right.
So connecting on a moral or philosophical level.
Yeah. It's finding those core values that you both believe in, whether it's honesty, compassion, justice, any virtue that resonates with you.
But you don't have to agree on everything, right? It's about finding that common ground, that shared purpose that goes beyond your individual differences.
Exactly. It's recognizing that we're all human, even though we have different views and experiences.
I think that's super important now, especially with all the division in the world. Finding those shared values can help bridge those gaps and build understanding and respect.
You're absolutely right. And it's not about forcing your values on others or trying to change their minds. It's about finding those points of connection and building relationships based on respect and admiration.
Speaking of admiration, I'm curious about principle number 9, practicing gratitude and appreciation. How does that play into making a lasting impression? Seems like a simple thing, but I bet the Stoics saw it as something more profound.
They did. The Stoics thought that gratitude was a really powerful way to fight negativity and unhappiness. They saw it as a way to change your perspective and focus on the good stuff, even when things are tough.
So it's not just about saying thank you or keeping a gratitude journal. It's about being thankful for all the good in your life.
Exactly. And it's about showing that gratitude, not just feeling it. The Stoics thought we should actively look for chances to show our appreciation to others.
I like that. So taking those feelings of gratitude and doing something with them. It could be something small like writing a thoughtful note, doing something nice for someone, or just saying thank you.
Exactly. And those little expressions of gratitude, they can really make a difference. They can brighten someone's day, strengthen a relationship, create a more positive vibe all around.
And being around someone who's truly grateful, I bet that's contagious. It makes you want to be more appreciative too.
It really is. Gratitude is powerful. It can change how you see life and make you more resilient when things get hard. And that positive energy, people are drawn to that. It makes them want to be around you.
Okay, last but not least, principle number 10. Creating profound memories. Sounds like it's all about grand gestures and amazing experiences, but I bet the Stoics had something different in mind.
You're right on the money. The Stoics weren't about chasing fleeting pleasures or collecting a bunch of stuff. They believed that real fulfillment comes from experiences that feed your soul and have a lasting impact.
So it's not about how much you spend or how many fancy vacations you take. It's about the quality of the experiences and how deep the connections are that you make.
Exactly. And those profound memories, they don't have to be huge or extravagant. They can be simple moments with loved ones, heart-to-heart talks, quiet evenings, reminiscing adventures in nature.
And that reminds me of something my grandma used to say, collect moments, not things. She was a wise lady.
She was, and that's what the Stoic principle is all about. It's about prioritizing experiences over stuff and focusing on what really matters in life.
And it kind of ties back to that Stoic idea of memento mori, remembering that we're not here forever. If you know you have limited time, you're more likely to really cherish those moments and make them count.
Absolutely. It's about making the most of the time you have and creating a life that has meaning and purpose.
So creating profound memories is about choosing experiences over possessions and focusing on the things that truly matter. Yeah, we covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, huh?
We did. From like mastering yourself to building real connections to finding joy in the everyday things. It's kind of wild how relevant Stoicism still is.
I know, right? And even though we looked at each principle separately, I feel like there's this common thread running through all of them.
You're right on. That's a big part of Stoic philosophy. It's about living with intention and virtue. It's about focusing on what you can control, which is mostly yourself, and then reacting to the world with wisdom and grace.
So it's not about tricking people into remembering you. It's about being the kind of person who leaves a good mark on the world just by being themselves.
Exactly. These principles, they're like tools for building a life that connects with people, a life that's based on self-awareness, empathy, and living in harmony with nature, like the Stoics said.
It's pretty amazing that a philosophy from thousands of years ago can still be so helpful today.
It shows you how much human experience stays the same. The problems we face, the big questions we ask, the need for meaning and connection. Stoicism has answers for all that stuff, and they're surprisingly clear.
So for our listener who's been taking all this in, what's the main takeaway? How can they start using these principles in their own life?
I'd say think about which principle really spoke to you. Which one felt familiar or maybe made you want to change something? What's one small thing you can do today to actually live by that principle?
That's a great question. It could be something as simple as telling someone you're grateful for them, or lending a helping hand, or even just taking some time to think about things.
Yeah.
What I love about these principles is that you can fit them into your life in both big and small ways.
Exactly. It's about making choices that reflect your values and trying to be the best version of yourself. And when you do that, it naturally ripples outward. It affects not just your life, but the lives of the people around you, too.
This has been such an eye-opening look into Stoicism. I feel like I learned a lot that I can actually use.
Me too. And don't forget, if you want to make a lasting impression, it all starts with you. By working on your character and living intentionally, you create something that lasts way beyond yourself.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into Stoic wisdom. We hope you found some inspiration and practical advice in these timeless principles. Until next time, keep on diving deep.